A cockroach fell into an ant's path, and in this case, the ants were not afraid at all. They simply came over and dragged the roach back to their nest where they chopped it up and ate it.
Hello everybody, this is your host from my channel.
And today we got another great video of Kien Koi Gien, also known as ants vs. cockroaches. And this one is pretty crazy, because there are so many ants here and there. Just one cockroach. And normally when roaches are in this type of situation, they're doomed. However, it seems like this roach is very lucky. It's actually quite smart, and it was able to escape. But let me show you what happened first. Here we go. So you see right here, there's some ants that are just walking around on this tree branch looking for food, whatever. And then our roach is trying to make his way across this cement wall. He's climbing up this cement wall. You can see how big this guy is. I mean, look at his legs. Look at his body. This is a huge American cockroach. I mean, absolutely massive. One of the biggest ones I've seen in a while. And he is trying to make his way across this cement wall, and unfortunately, he loses his grip and falls down onto the ants. Now, these are leafcutter ants. And normally leafcutter ants, they don't really mess with roaches. Normally they're afraid of roaches. But this roach, even though he fell right on top of them, didn't really get hurt that bad. Like, you know, he kind of just tumble rolled and landed on his feet. So he's okay. He's a little shaken up. Now the ants, like I said, these are leafcutter ants, but there's a ton of them, so they're not afraid. They're going to come in here and start pulling and dragging this roach away. A roach is going to try to use his legs, try to kick and move around. But he's not going to be able to do anything because there's just too many ants. These ants are way too strong for this roach. So the ants are gone. Nah, keep dragging him away. And eventually they re-gone. Nah, bring him back to their nest. Once they bring him back to their nest, things are not gone, nah, look good for our roach. Because now they've re-gone, nah, have a bunch of ants inside the nest that are gone, nah, start chewing up on this roach. And you can see how big this roach is. I mean, there's a lot of roach there to go around. There's plenty of food for all the ants here. So yeah, they re-gone, nah. Be chewing up on this roach and it's not gone, nah. Take them long at all to eat this roach. The roaches are pretty much dead already, like even before the ants brought them back to the nest. So yeah, the ants did their job, and they ate their food. Now if you think about this, this is pretty interesting. Normally ants don't really mess with roaches. But in this case, since there was so many ants, they weren't really afraid of the roach at all. In fact, they went right after him and took him back to their nest and chopped him up and ate him. Now roaches are pretty tough, like I've said many times on the channel. If you see a roach running around your house, chances are it's only a small little roach, right? You never really see the big massive ones inside the house. Occasionally you will, but you usually see the little small ones. And those little small ones, if they ever run into a group of ants, they're pretty much dead. However, if you've got a big massive roach like this one, like this big boy right here, he's going to be able to defend himself. But sometimes, like in this case, if there's just too many ants, like hundreds of ants or thousands of ants, they're going to come after you. And even if you're a big, massive, strong roach like this guy, there's nothing you can do. You're going to be chopped up and eaten. Now, this roach was pretty lucky. I mean, listen, I know people hate roaches and all that, but put yourself in the roach's shoes here. The roach fell off the wall, right? The roach could have easily been killed right then and there by the ants. The ants could have swarmed the roach and chopped him up right then and there. Instead, they decided to drag him back to the nest. Now, if the roaches were to fight back, like if he was kicking and moving around and fighting back, the ants would have swarmed him and chopped him up right then and there. So the roach was very smart here. The roach played dead, basically, and laid there and didn't move and let the ants think that he was dead. Then once they took him back to the nest, the roach started moving around again. But it was too late because the ants had already chopped him up and started eating him. But the roach did live a little longer than he would have, if he did and played dead, and if he fought back against the ants.
Right, so that was pretty smart roach behavior, I'd say.
I mean, playing dead, laying there, letting the ants think you're dead, hoping that they would take you back to the nest and not eat you right there on the spot. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for the roach, but it did make him live a little longer. Now, these leafcutter ants, like I said, they don't really mess with roaches, but they are very protective of their territory. And if you fall on their territory and don't move, they think that you're dead, and they'll bring you back to their nest to eat. Now, the weird thing about this video is that the ants brought the roach back to their nest, but you never see them eating the roach inside the nest. I mean, I'm sure they did, but This video only shows us what happens outside the nest. Maybe we should ask the guy who filmed this video what happened to the roach inside the nest. I'm sure he has more footage, but he probably just didn't include it in this clip. But I'm sure the ants took the roach back into the nest and ate it. I mean, why else would they bring it back to the nest? But anyways, this was a very interesting video. Very cool to see the ants bringing the roach back to the nest like this. Not something you see every day, honestly. So thanks for sharing this video, guys. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Key Ant Keo, GN Ants vs. Cockroaches. We'll see you guys next time.